Hi, I'm Nathan Tuffy, livestock reporter with the Farmers Journal. Today we're here in Shortstone, County Louth on William Treacy's farm. William is a participant in the Teagasc Irish Farmers Journal Better Farm programme, and we're here to look at what he's achieved over the last 2.5 years. Will, you might just talk me through what farming system you're operating here on the farm and how it's changed in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, Nathan, we're operating a suckler herd here of roughly 100 cows. That has gone up from about 60-65 cows since the start of the programme. We would be finishing a small portion of the stock, but most stock are either sold as weanings or stores throughout the year. So we have a split herd now. We have an autumn calving herd and a spring calving herd, roughly 50-50.
You might just talk me through how the stocking rate and output has changed on your farm.
Yeah, well, initially at the start of the programme, the stocking rate was hovering around about 1.6 livestock units to the hectare. And most of the lads reckoned that was way too low for this farm because it's a dry farm and has potential to carry extra stock. At this stage now, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, it's gone to about 2.2 livestock units, which is a huge increase.
What has that done for the output of the farm?
The output of the farm has actually doubled within that time, so it's about doubled by about 20,000 kilos.
Given the massive increase in output and in stocking rate on the farm, Willie, how was that achieved, or what were the main factors and main changes on the farm in order to implement that?
I suppose a lot of the work we had to do was to concentrate on the grassland itself. We had to identify the paddocks on the farm that weren't producing enough grass, because before you weren't really noticing, because when you're understocked you don't really pick out paddocks that aren't producing as much grass as what their potential. So we identified those by using this machine here, which is a plate meter. So basically I go around once a week and I measure grass with this plate meter here, and I can know exactly what grass I have on the farm, and then I was fit to identify the paddocks that weren't capable of producing enough grass. So we were fit to take them out of the rotation and get them reseeded as quickly as possible.
And in terms of grass measurement, what else has that enabled you to do in general farm management?
Well, it means that you're going into a proper leafy type of grass instead of going into either too strong a grass, which would have been the norm here. So you're going into higher quality material, which has the potential to put on more gain much quicker.
In terms of grass quality, you might just talk me through how you maintain that quality throughout the year, especially at this time of year.
Well, grass quality is actually much easier to maintain high when your stocking rate is high, because it never gets a chance to get too strong. So the fact that you're spreading fertiliser as well makes the quality improve as well. So it leaves the whole system a lot easier to manage. The only thing it does is maybe you have a slight bit more work moving stock around, because you're moving them nearly every day into a new plot. It's well worth it for the returns that you get.
Okay, it's all very well, all this extra work that's going into the grass management on the farm, but is it having any effect on live weight gains in that?
It is, Nathan, because we're actually weighing the cattle on a probably every 2-month basis. So we're actually seeing what gain is going on, and most of the targets, probably all of the targets, are being met at this stage. The spring calves are gaining, the bull calves are gaining 1.25 kilos a day, and the heifers are gaining 1.1. And also we have yearling bulls here which are gaining 1.49 kilos a day, which is above target at this stage.
I know it's been a very dry year so far in this part of the country, Willie. You might just talk me through the problems that you've seen in relation to it. Yeah,
well, that's true, Nathan. The one thing about being highly stocked on this farm, this is a dry farm anyway to start with, and if you have a dry spell like this year, you know, it does become a very tough time. I mean, we have less than half the rainfall has been recorded of the norm for this whole spring and into midsummer at this stage. So we need a lot of rain to grow grass here now, but we wouldn't be getting it. Now, as you see here, this sward here, this would be an old sward that we're standing at the minute now. Normally, on a normal year, it would be growing adequate supplies of grass, but as you can see, it's all headed out. It's under stress because of the dry weather that we've been having. The autumn calving herd, most of them have been weaned at this stage, and they were all tightened up onto a paddock of bare grass and fed silage, and that just more or less took them out of the rotation altogether. And weight gain is not an issue with those, so I mean all you need is maintenance So that's where we're progressing there. Now we did have to supplement some of the suckler herd as well with silage as well, just to keep them going, because we weren't hitting our targets of 12 days ahead. It had dropped at one point to as low as maybe 5 to 6 days of grass supply ahead. So there's no point in letting stock into a paddock that hasn't grown properly, because you're only making it worse. And also, you to try and help your stretch your days ahead. We see out here beside, we have the silage taken there a few days ago or last week, and we're grazing the headlands, and we're not running out of the fields too quick. Try and get a few extra days built up.
Are you still going out with fertiliser regularly, or what have you?
Yeah, I mean, you do. I mean, you try and you do the simple thing. You watch the weather forecast and you see if there's rain imminent of any description, you will go out with fertiliser. But sometimes during the year we had to miss rotations because it was just absolutely too dry, and you wouldn't have got any response. You would have lost the nitrogen.
We're joined here by Adam Woods, the Better Farm Advisor in the east side of the country here. Adam, it's all good and well that we've talked through technical efficiencies and how that has improved the production on the farm, but what does it mean for the bottom line? You might just talk me through the gross margin, how it's changed.
Yeah, Nathan. Well, over the 16 farms that are in the programme, gross margin has increased by 46% since they joined the programme in 2008, and Willie is no exception here. We'll say a couple of figures just to run down through Willie's e-profit monitor. I should say all the farmers are completing e-profit monitors since 2008, so we can monitor financial performance as we go forward. Willie's output has changed. We'll say it has doubled from 350 kilos a hectare to 739 kilos a hectare this year, which is a massive improvement. In that time, his output value has also increased by about €450 a hectare. But one of the most interesting points, even though stocking rate has increased, output has increased, his variable cost has only went up by a small amount, from about 560 to 580, which is a massive achievement when you think about all the extra stock that he has around, and he has kept variable costs, he has controlled variable costs. So again, gross margin has increased by about 150% on this farm as a sole function of increasing the stocking rate, increasing the output, and keeping a cap on variable costs.
Does the target of €1,000 per hectare seem achievable here on the farm?
It does, but we may need a maybe longer time frame. This is a 3-year programme, and it's a short time to see all the benefits of that breeding and that extra output to come through.
Willie, we've seen how you've expanded stock numbers on the farm since you joined the programme. How has that been funded, or has there been significant investment over the farm in the last 2.5 years?
No, Nathan, there wouldn't be any extra investment as such on the farm. It would have been all taken out of the working capital of the farm and the cash flow. That was probably one of the hardest things we had to do, was to manage that and try and work from what we had, our own resources, because it just, it's part of the whole programme to show that it can be done by anybody.